What if I told you the betrayal that breaks you the most never comes with a warning? It comes wrapped in smiles, loyalty, and moments you thought were real. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal the chilling small signs you've been ignoring, signs that seem harmless, even ordinary, until it's too late. These aren't just guesses, they're emotional landmines hiding in plain sight, and if you miss them, it won't just cost you trust, it could cost you years of peace, love, and dignity. So don't blink, don't scroll, because by the time betrayal shows its true face, it's already done the damage. Stay with me and learn to see what others will never dare to notice until it's already ruined them. Whispers in the rhythm of routine. Betrayal rarely arrives with a scream. It doesn't come crashing through the door, it seeps in quietly, like a shadow shifting in the corner of a familiar room. The most dangerous betrayals are the ones that begin with tiny cracks in everyday routines, moments so small they seem unworthy of concern. A friend who used to check in every day suddenly becomes distant, giving vague excuses. A partner who once lit up when you entered the room now seems distracted, avoiding eye contact. These aren't coincidences, they're warning signs. They're the quiet whispers of shifting loyalty, the early ripples before the tidal wave hits. And yet, most people ignore them, brushing them off as stress, mood swings, or just a phase. But deep down, something inside you senses the change. Something feels off. That's not anxiety, it's awareness. It's your inner intelligence, your emotional radar trying to protect you. But here's the truth. The reason so many people suffer brutal betrayal is because they refused to listen to the early signs. They waited for undeniable proof, for the full collapse, while the damage was already happening in silence. People underestimate how powerful the routine is. It's where trust is built, where connection lives. And when that routine begins to shift, it's not just a schedule changing. It's the energy, it's the intention, it's the respect. The person pulling away might not say it out loud, but their behavior is already drafting a story of disconnection. The loyalty is thinning, the bond is cracking, and unless you open your eyes, you'll only realize it when it's too late. So be bold enough to see what's changing. Notice the hesitation, the inconsistency, the half-hearted effort. Because betrayal doesn't begin when someone lies. It begins when they stop caring like they used to. And when you feel that shift, don't silence yourself. Don't doubt your perception. You don't need evidence to start protecting your peace. Let the whispers in the rhythm of routine be your signal, because the earlier you see it, the stronger you'll stand. Betrayal only breaks those who close their eyes to the storm, but those who pay attention to the winds. They're already building shelter before the rain falls. The volume of unspoken words, sometimes the loudest signs of betrayal, are buried in silence, not the dramatic kind, but the quiet, calculated kind. It begins when the energy shifts in a conversation that once felt easy, flowing, honest. Suddenly, there are longer pauses, shorter answers, smiles that don't reach the eyes. The person who once confided in you now carefully chooses their words or avoids the deep ones altogether. This isn't just change, it's a warning, because when someone's heart begins to withdraw, their voice often follows, and the most dangerous betrayals always start in silence. People don't just wake up and betray those they care about. They disconnect first, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. They begin by building walls where there were once open doors. They no longer ask you how your day was, not because they forgot, but because they stopped investing in your world. That subtle shift, that pull back, it's not random, it's deliberate, and it's often the first sign that your role in their life is quietly being rewritten. They may not say anything hurtful. In fact, they may be extra polite, but that's what makes it more chilling, because the silence is masked in civility, and you're left doubting your own instincts. But trust this, energy doesn't lie. The way someone talks to you, or stops talking to you, reveals the story their mouth won't tell. The person who avoids meaningful conversations is often hiding a mind already made up, a heart already turned away. If you start feeling like you're tiptoeing around a ghost, someone who's there physically but absent emotionally, you're not imagining things. You're witnessing the prelude to betrayal. Don't wait for an outburst. Don't wait for betrayal to come crashing through your peace. If the connection feels muted, if the communication starts to fade, speak up. Or step back. But do not stay silent just because they are. You deserve to be around people who speak with presence, not absence. People who show up with truth, not empty words. The silence may not scream, but it signals everything. So listen to what's not being said, because those quiet spaces, they're where loyalty goes missing and where betrayal begins to grow. Trust the thunder in your chest. There's a reason your gut twists when something isn't right. That uneasy feeling in your chest, the racing heart, the sudden tightness, the instinctive discomfort when someone's words don't match their actions, is not just overthinking. It's your internal defense system. It's ancient, it's powerful, it's there to protect you long before your mind can explain what's wrong. The problem is, we live in a world that teaches us to silence it. We're told to be reasonable, to not jump to conclusions, to give people the benefit of the doubt, even when our soul is screaming that something feels off. But betrayal doesn't wait for logic. It creeps in while you're second, guessing your own intuition. The thunder in your chest is not your enemy. It's your earliest warning signal. It notices the small lies you ignore. It catches the insincerity in their compliments. It hears the hesitation behind their laughter. And when it rises, when that storm brews inside you, it's asking you to look closer, not with paranoia, but with awareness, not to accuse, but to prepare, because those who betray you often do so behind layers of charm, kindness, and familiarity. They don't come waving red flags, they come cloaked in your trust. That's why the gut matters. That's why intuition saves lives, time, and dignity. You don't need physical proof to honor what your spirit already knows. You don't need to wait for the knife before you admit the coldness in the air. Courage is not just about confronting others, it's about believing yourself. If your body feels unsafe in someone's presence, even when the words are sweet, that's not weakness. That's wisdom, and the sooner you listen, the stronger you become. The ones who survive betrayal are not the ones who guessed it right at the end. They are the ones who sensed it early and chose not to betray themselves. So trust the thunder in your chest. It's not noise, it's a message forged through every experience, every heartbreak, every moment your heart had to heal. It's not there to scare you, it's there to guide you. And when you learn to honor that storm, you won't just avoid betrayal, you'll become unshakable. Boundaries, the invisible shield boundaries, aren't just rules, they are silent declarations of self-worth. They say, this is how I expect to be treated, this is where I draw the line. And in a world where betrayal often begins with subtle disrespect, boundaries are your first and most powerful line of defense. The truth is, before anyone betrays you in a big way, they test you in small ways, a joke at your expense, a favor that feels more like a demand, a moment where they dismiss your feelings and see if you'll stay quiet. If you do, they learn something dangerous, that you're willing to abandon yourself just to keep the peace. But peace without boundaries is not peace. It's quiet chaos. It's the slow erosion of your confidence, your energy, your identity. That's why people who betray others often start by pushing their limits. They disguise it as closeness, claiming, "Don't take it so seriously," or "I thought we were better than that." But behind those words is an agenda to see how far they can go without consequences. And if you don't draw the line early, they keep pushing until your silence becomes permission and your tolerance becomes an invitation for betrayal. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cold or unkind. It makes you clear. It tells the world you are not afraid to walk away from what doesn't honor your dignity. It teaches others how to treat you, and more importantly, it teaches you how to protect yourself. And here's the power in it. People who have bad intentions don't like boundaries. They get uncomfortable when they realize you're not easily manipulated. They pull back, show their true colors, or disappear altogether. That's not a loss, that's a reveal. It's your boundary doing its job. So don't apologize for protecting your space. Don't feel guilty for saying no, for asking for respect, or for walking away when someone crosses the line. Every boundary you set is a promise to yourself that you will never allow slow betrayal to grow roots in your life. Because once you make yourself non-negotiable, betrayal finds no room to thrive. You become a fortress, not just built of stone, but of self-respect. And that, more than anything, is what makes you untouchable. Transmute suspicion into power when you start sensing betrayal. Those small signs, the gut feelings, the emotional pullbacks. You have two choices: drown in anxiety or rise in awareness. Most people waste time trying to prove something is wrong, endlessly analyzing texts, rereading conversations, and waiting for undeniable proof. But here's a truth that can change your life. You don't need to catch someone betraying you in the act to start protecting your energy. You just need to act on what you feel. That suspicion, that discomfort is not weakness. It's a trigger to evolve, to rise, to shift your focus from them back to you. Betrayal doesn't have to break you. In fact, the moment you start noticing the early signs is a sacred opportunity. Not for confrontation, but for transformation. Let them pull away. Let them act strange. Let them lie with a smile. While they rehearse their betrayal, you begin your breakthrough. You double down on your goals. You become emotionally sharper, mentally clearer. You start setting higher standards, not just for others, but for yourself. You don't chase closure. You create distance. You don't demand the truth. You live in your own truth, unbothered, unshaken. This is how you transmute suspicion into power. You stop needing their honesty to validate your intuition. You understand that your growth is the best revenge. Your silence becomes louder than confrontation. Your elevation becomes your protection. And when you do this, something incredible happens. The people who planned to hurt you can no longer reach you. Not because you exposed them, but because you outgrew them. You moved so far ahead that their betrayal no longer touches your peace. Remember this: betrayal thrives on your distraction. It feeds on your emotional reaction. But when you respond with quiet power and unwavering self-respect, you take the air out of their fire. You rise so high that even if they plan to break you, they end up watching you shine from a distance they can never return from. So don't fear the signs. Don't obsess over the truth. Use your suspicion as fuel. Build, heal, grow, and let the final chapter be this: the very moment they decided to betray you was the moment you became unstoppable. That's how legends are born, not in comfort, but in clarity,